Does it feel like there's been a string of food recalls?
Yes,
recently?
every day, something new.
Because we're reporting it here, so it does feel that way. From Kirkland's signature brand organic eggs, potentially infected with salmonella, to carrot products from Grimway Farms that's potentially contaminated with E. coli, to millions of pounds of Bruce Pack ready-to-eat meat and Boar's Head deli products tainted by listeria. Many consumers may be wondering, are we seeing more recalls than normal, or is there something actually going on with our food supply? So on that question, the FDA told us that food recalls in 2024 are, quote, generally consistent with years past, and that most recalls are carried out voluntarily by the companies themselves when a problem is found, which again, according to the FDA, shows that the system is actually working. The FDA also reminded us that U.S. food supply remains one of the safest in the world.
One of. Are you not reassured? And by the way, it's not only food recalls that have many people wondering what's safe to eat, it's the food ingredients and food processing too. Social media and wellness books are full of talk of so-called ultra-processed food, which includes additives that are banned in other countries and may be linked to health problems in this one. And now there's a new lawsuit just filed against some of the country's largest and most profitable makers of that food, claiming they engineered the ultra-processed, chemically modified products to be addictive and overconsumed, that they targeted kids in the process, and that they allegedly know the products cause increased risks of severe physical injuries, that's a quote, in kids, including type 2 diabetes, liver disease, other chronic diseases as well. As for the company as well, they have an industry group that represents food and beverage makers, and it told Reuters that there is no agreed upon scientific definition of ultra-processed foods, and adding that it's misleading to classify foods as unhealthy simply because they are processed. But back to the big question, what do I eat? And will Adriana stop judging me when I get the chips and the soda at the checkout aisle?
Yeah, right. You do not.
I do. I love a bag of chips. You're right about the soda.
You were at the farmer's market getting all the good stuff.
I do cook a lot at home because I do worry about ultra-processed food, but bag of chips every day.
Okay, I want proof. All right, joining us now is journalist Michael Moss. He won a Pulitzer Prize for his 2010 reporting on food safety, including investigations into contaminated hamburger meat. He also is the author of Salt, Sugar, Fat, and Hooked. Michael Moss, good morning.
Good morning to you, and you had me on chips, because that's one of my vulnerable places.
It's only a few ingredients on the back. It seems like it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have questions about the ingredient list. We'll get to that. But when Tony was talking about the fact that the industry says that there's no definition for ultra-processed foods, I saw you go,
yeah.
What is the definition, and what's the spectrum?
Well, everybody has their own definition. It's food that's so hyper-engineered and savagely marketed that you can't even tell what the basic food stuff is in it. For me, the definition is convenience, right? You're walking through the grocery store, and the more convenience there is in the package on the shelf, the easier it is to throw in your cart, bring it home, put it on the shelf, and maybe just like warm it up for dinner, the more the hidden cost to that product is, which is huge. I mean, some of the estimates on what the hidden cost in our overeating of junk food and processed food run as high as $1.7 trillion a year for taking care of chronic diseases and lost productivity. So, I mean, this is arguably the biggest man-made health disaster out there that we're facing right now.
So, I mean, the connection between ultra-processed food and all these bad health outcomes, it seems to be coming into focus. So there's just a headline the other day, scientists find potential link between ultra-processed food and cancer. This is the first lawsuit of its kind. Do you think we're going to see a lot of these going forward?
You know, I'd be really interested to see the motions to dismiss from the food industry, because this lawsuit is brought by some really smart attorneys, naming names of the biggest companies out there. And so what their defense will be, I'll be really curious about, because we've seen attempts in the past to sort of hold the industry accountable in a court of law.
And can we talk about the food additives thing? There's this concept that the FDA has of generally regarded as safe, the GRAS standard, and that allows the companies themselves to tell the FDA what they think is safe to put in the food. Do I have
sounds
that right?
Crazy, right? It sounds like totally convoluted, right? Yes, you know, we can add a product to an ingredient, an additive, a color, a dye to our product. You know, if we just show you, the federal government, some evidence that we think makes it safe. It's totally opposite in Europe, which is why people have been sort of looking there at their breakfast cereals and go like, why aren't they like neon glowing like ours? It's because they have a different system where they have to prove that the additive is safe before it's added.
We have 4,000 additives on our generally regarded as
man.
safe list. They have 1,000.
Oh, that's
Or
interesting.
no, 400. It's actually 10 times as many here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What can families do? What can people like me, I try to make meals. I do grab a lot of those like frozen foods. You just throw it in a pot, because I don't have time right now. I'd like to buy the organic stuff, to make stuff from scratch. You made a beautiful pizza. I think we have a photo of
but
it.
look, I work morning hours, right? So I have time to cook in the afternoon and
hard.
evening, right? So
Yeah.
other people don't. And like a lot of this ends up being, there's a lot of judgment and class resentment involved in talking about this stuff, because to not eat processed food costs more money and more time.
Yeah.
So what can people do, and what are the ingredients to really avoid?
Well, and going into the holidays, this is really good to talk about. And January, we can come back and talk about sort of the deeper kind of solutions. I mean, I sort of am on the side of don't try to overdo it. I mean, forget the 10-day diet detox program, because it's so hard to follow. Maybe pick out just one thing for the next couple of weeks that you can kind of eliminate from those evil ingredient lists. And maybe it's sugar for some people. And kind of just try to focus on that and see how that goes. And then maybe on top of that,
It's in everything.
I know, but then maybe on top of that, maybe try to think of some ways to sneak a little more vegetables and fruits with every nutritionist tells us we should be eating more of into your meals.
Hope we can do it. Michael, I do hope you come back in
Yes.
January. There's so much more to talk about. And that Pulitzer you won for the hamburger report like years ago, it changed my life.
Oh my God.
Really, yeah.
Thank
I'm
you
having
so
hamburgers
much.
tonight, still eat them, but not the way I used to.